And good afternoon, and welcome to Lunch and Learn. My name is Kieren Fitzpatrick, and as Managing Director of Parashift, I welcome you here on behalf of everyone. And on today's subject matter, which is Alfresco, meeting the challenges of collaboration. Before we begin, some housekeeping. Please put your phones onto silent or off. And should you feel the need for a break, toilets are just outside of the room to the right. And in the event of an emergency, please listen to the staff of this particular venue. Further, it is a lunch and learn, so please feel free to eat and drink as you see fit. We do want you listening and not thinking about how hungry you are. And finally, we wish to acknowledge the Australian Indigenous people and the contribution they have actually made to Australia's. Okay. Now with today's event, we'll just begin with who we are. Parashift actually is a systems integrator and software house based in Adelaide, but with a national focus. We set the company up in 2013 with the mission to make life better, and that's pretty much our success criteria for all of the work that we do. The values of our company really represent the culture, which is client centricity or client centric, which is really a statement to say it's about you and not us. It's about your problems, your challenges. Elegance relates to our solution design. If it is complex, means that we haven't nailed it and it's back to the drawing board. Respect, which is an understanding that the world is a melting pot of different cultures and ideas and religions, and to be mindful of that. And finally, all of this is really useless unless we love what we do, which is represented by our passion, which you will see today in all of the speakers. So with that, shall we begin? So today's presentations, well, firstly, I'll have myself doing some insights on industry information based on collaboration. We will then move to Henri Guillaume, our client director, who will give you a practical demonstration of Alfresco as a collaborative tool using one of the best companies in the world as an example, us, and how we actually used Alfresco in relation to putting today's lunch and learn on. After that, we have Melanie Laycock, who will provide a presentation on the work that we've done there in helping them actually in their digital asset management systems and record management systems. So very interesting to hear what she has to say. We'll have a short break, and then after that we'll hand over to Peter Lester, who will begin the technical session on discussing the architecture of Alfresco and also showing some business integrations and some business intelligence. Okay, so with some insights, before we actually began, we thought, how is it that we could actually express the power of collaboration? And we came up with, probably in my view, the greatest example of collaboration in the history of the world, which was in 1962 at Rice University in Texas. The 35th President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, set forth a challenge to his nation to send a man to the moon and return him safely to Earth before the decade was out. This profound and elegant statement, or challenge rather, created the environment for one of the greatest collaborative projects. 100,000 engineers, scientists, astrophysicists, pilots, to name a few, were all united in the cause to actually meet this challenge. They realised very quickly that working in silos in their own little disciplines would not actually achieve the goal. They needed to tap the collective wisdom. And with that goal was achieved on the 20th of July 1969 with the immortal words, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." All right, so with that, we understand that what can be achieved in collaboration, and arguably we refer to that now as the Moon Challenge. All right, so to assist in your organisation achieving their Moon Challenge, why is collaboration difficult? Why isn't it that we're actually not doing it that well? Well, if we look at some of the insights that we actually found, there was a white paper produced in 2012 by the IDC. Now, arguably, this is a couple of years old, But the reason we're actually still presenting this today is we still find this to be prevalent in a lot of the discussions with our clients and future clients. So if you look at the typical working week, an employee can spend around about 19%, which is equivalent to a day a week, trying to find the information to do their particular job. They also spend about 28%, which is about a day and a half a week, reading and responding to emails. Now that's a vast amount of time when you think about it. So if we actually break this up a little bit further, you'll see that on average per week, you'll deal with about 304 emails. But here's the killer. 36 times on an hour will you actually check your inbox. Now every time I've done this presentation, normally I've actually captured someone out here. Not today though, it's a bit unique, that someone is actually looking at their phone reading an email, which is, proves my point. But here is the thing. Every time that you actually read an email, think about what you need to do to respond to it. Write the response and then move on to the next thing. Requires around about 16 minutes of context shifting. Okay, so moving on to the next insight. We actually have a look at the way that we actually do our particular role itself. We spend about just under 40%. All right, so effectively 2 days. Now I've argued with my staff, does that mean I can pay you 39% of your salary? To which I'm actually rather rapidly told no. But you think about the productivity gains if you have your employees only doing effectively 2 days worth of week in that week. All right, leaving a very minimal, not even a day's work to actually for that organisation to collaborate, untap that collective wisdom of a day and a half in collaboration. The second series of insights that we've got relates towards governance. So why aren't we, doing collaboration well? And it really goes towards, I guess, in our venue, to ICT. You speak to a HR person, they'll talk about the HR considerations. We're an IT company, so we're going to talk about the systems here. So of those that actually were polled in a survey completed by AIIM, they stated that 80% of respondees consider that security actually was the major consideration for a collaborative system. Further within that, 58% of them actually said that their biggest concern, bearing in mind security, relates to actually the dissemination of client or private client information, or even confidential information for that matter. All right. Now, so with security and with the dissemination of confidential information, some organisations choose to do nothing. All right. Now, if you decide to do nothing, that is a decision in its own right. And what we've found, and particularly proven in this particular white paper, is that 56% of those have their collaborative solutions through shadow IT, which effectively is a fancy way of saying non-mandated or approved technology solutions for that organisation. So things such as Dropbox, thumb drives, to name a few, is actually being used right here, right now by your employees as the way to actually collaborate. The end result, as estimated in the US economy, is $37 billion is the cost of poor collaboration in the workforce. Now, taking into account that the US is a much larger economy than ours, they have a lot more people, and their dollar's a bit more powerful too, translated into Australian terms, by taking that into account, roughly is around about the $3.3 billion. Still a very sizable drag on the Australian economy. So with that, so we've established our organisation's Moon Challenge. Ours is to make life better. Obviously, you have yours yourself. We agree that collaboration actually is a very important aspect to actually how we do work, because we're far more specialised than what we've ever been before in the history of mankind. The considerations are based on productivity and security, and there is a cost to the economy. So what we're now going to do is I'm going to hand over to Henri Guillaume, our client director, who's going to provide a presentation, or actually more of a live demonstration actually, on how we actually solved the collaboration challenges for PowerShift with today's Lunch and Learn. Thank you, Henry.
Thank you, Kieren. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this second section, the practical example of Alfresco as a collaboration tool. My name is Henri Guillaume, and before we go ahead with the practical demonstration, let me put Alfresco into perspective. Alfresco is a company that was started in 2005 by the founders of Documentum, and they created some software which is now used by over 1,800 organizations around the world in 212 countries. They have more than 7 billion documents currently under management. And the part that I like about this particular site is the fact that we have 95% recurring subscriptions. Now, their model is to renew every year. And this in turn means that the company has to offer you value for you to decide to renew next year. And so this is a number that a large amount of organizations can only dream of. Their client list includes organizations around the world, some large organizations like Sony and Fox, but also NASA, and a large number of governments around in the European Union and in the US, including the Department of Defense in the US. Closer to Australia, we have a number of organizations here that are actually interested in using Alfresco and have started using it, from government departments such as the Department of Industry, the Royal Commission for Nuclear Fuel Cycle, the Department of the Attorney General's Department in South Australia, but also a number of organizations in the private sector that go from insurance, agribusiness, pharmaceuticals, mines, and education, as well as an Aboriginal health training organization. We also have IATSIS, which is a federal department, and we'll hear more from IATSIS later on in this presentation. What we're going to do now is actually look at the practical example of Alfresco in the sense of collaboration. Now, those amongst you who have seen me present before will see that I actually get quite excited about the product. But let me make something very clear. It is not about the technology. It's actually about what it can do for you, for your business processes, for the collaboration within the organizations, and really about making your work life better. What we're going to do with Claudia here is actually going to look at the life cycle of a document. We're going to take a document from the creation of the document over to the editing and reviewing of the document. At some point, Claudia will send a document for approval. And finally, we'll look at the sentencing of the document for disposal by the system according to the disposal schedule. What we have done here is we've basically used the system itself for the preparation of these Lunch and Learn presentations. And so what we're going to walk you through is really the preparation of those presentations, the actual actions that we took to prepare for those Lunch and Learns. When you log into Alfresco using the web browser, you get presented with a dashboard. Now, Alfresco runs in a server, typically on a virtual machine on a server, whether it's in your data center, on a server in your data center, or it's in the cloud in Amazon, for example. And so the data is kept securely behind your firewall. To access the system, you typically put in your username and your password, and we can enable two-factor authentication to increase the security of your data. But you do know that the data is completely secure behind your firewall on your server. The dashboard itself is a completely customizable dashboard with dashlets which can mirror what reflect the role of the person who's logging in. There are 4 dashlets that are particularly important, and these are the ones that we want to just highlight. The first one, looking at the top right, left-hand corner, we have My Sites. And these are, it's an area of the file system which is demarcated and is only accessible to people who are actually members of the site. So this again speaks to the fact that the information is secure. You will remember that 80% of respondents of the survey actually reported that security of the information was one of their prime concern, and this is part of the answer to that challenge. Moving on to the next dashlet, we have My Activities dashlet. This is a running list of events that happen within the system. And you can see here that we have a number of aspects that we can look at, be it content that has been uploaded, downloaded, updated. And it works very much in terms of collaboration, because it may, seeing a document that's been updated may trigger in your mind something that you may need to do. You may need to look at the document, you may need to revisit a particular aspect of it. Now, it also talks to collaboration, because it provides rapid access to documents. Each one of those documents presented here is a link, and a link directly to the document, so you can edit it instantly. Moving on to the next dashlet, you will recall that people spend 20% of their time looking for information, and this particular dashlet obviates that need to look for information. So the dashlet itself presents a number of links that you basically have been, documents that you've been working on, documents that are your favorites. So you don't need to search for documents that you were recently editing or you're currently editing. You have them under your use right there, and this speaks to efficiency, to increasing the efficiency of accessing documents. But there is one other aspect that I want to highlight here in respect to finding documents, and it's the search facility. Now, the search facility is a powerful one. It allows you to be able to access documents rapidly. So what Claudia is going to do is she's going to put in a word here, so looking for presentation. You will see that the Alfresco indexes the content of every single document, and it presents a number of suggestions according to what it believes is the closest match to what you may want to do. But if you type return, it offers you then the set of search results. So in this screen here, we can see the search results, but we can also see that there are facets on the left-hand side. And these facets allow you to hone in to specific results. As we said, the Alfresco indexes the whole content of the document, so every word within the document, but also the metadata, and searches on all of those aspects. So Claudia here could actually look at a particular facet and select Microsoft PowerPoint, because she wants to hone into those particular results, allowing her to reduce the total results just to that part of the results that she's looking for, so that particular type of document. And this speaks to the ability to search for documents rapidly and to find them efficiently. Let's go back to the home screen. And here we're actually going to look at the last dashlet, which is really My Tasks. Now, you may remember that people spend a lot of time in their email, and because of the collection of email that people typically receive, you can easily see that that requests can be quickly lost. What we have here is a dashlet system that allows you to send a task to somebody and request either a job to be done, a review or an approval to be completed, but you could also set yourself a reminder. Now, instead of having it in amongst all of the emails, you would have it here on that dashlet, allowing you direct access to those tasks, but also ensuring that the tasks do not disappear without them being actioned. So you actually have to go in and action the tasks to be able to progress them. Let's look now in detail at what at the site that Claudia created for the preparation of these lunch and learns. The site itself has got a dashboard as well with dashlets. Claudia, being the manager of that site, since she's the one who created it, has access to all of the documents, also has access to changing the look and feel of that site, but also inviting people. Now you will see here in this particular dashlet, the site members, that people have different roles. And this is important because you may want to restrict access to files, to restrict access to what people can do within the site. Kieren and myself have got the role of collaborator. We've got Melanie, who is a contributor, and this means that she can contribute her documents and edit them, but she cannot delete or edit other people's documents. Whereas as a collaborator, I can do a lot more within the site. The final one that we have here is Peter is a consumer, and he is basically there for illustration purposes. He's there as a read-only member, which means he has access to the documents, but only to be able to download them and read them or to view them online. Anybody else outside of that site does not have access to any of the documents. So let's look at the document library. What Claudia did here was to create a number of folders to set the documents. Now, this particular screen is familiar to most users because it presents them with a folder structure that is very familiar to people who use Windows Explorer or Mac Finder. On the left, we have the folder structure. On the right, the content of the folder. The particular importance of this is the fact that instead of having documents within your hard drive, which are then not accessible to other people, but you have to send them by email, etc., we have them here within Alfresco inside of the file, the document library of the site. This allows people to be able to collaborate. So Claudia here, as she's going through her the presentations, preparing, uploading the presentations and editing them, allows us to be able to view those presentations without her having to send the documents around. What Claudia did was to look at the documents in the presentations folder, and she worked on a presentation, the main one. You can see here that the window that appears is actually a preview of the document. So for Claudia, that's particularly important because she can actually view each one of the slides in her PowerPoint slide. She can also work on it without having to download the document and to affect it. You will see on the top of the screen here, we have a number of social aspects. So the first one is the ability to favorite the document. The favoriting the document allows Claudia to be able to access that document pretty much from wherever she is within the site. That's a document that she uses very frequently. You can also like the document and even sort by popularity of documents. So it's a bit very much like Facebook, putting a thumbs up. You can also provide comments to the file. This adds to the metadata of the file and allows you to be able to augment the comments. So instead of editing the file and putting the information inside, you can actually put that as a comment on the file. The final one that I want to highlight here is the share button. And this talks to collaboration. It allows you to obtain a URL, which you can then send by email, by SMS, by instant messaging over to an external party. So you can share this particular file with a third party that is not connected to your Alfresco, and of course you're not letting them into the site. You will see on the right-hand side we have a number of actions on this on the document that are possible. What Claudia typically did was to edit the document online with OnlyOffice. Now, OnlyOffice is a web-based tool that allows us to edit documents directly online. But it also allows us to have a simultaneous editing by other people. So for example, we have here an administrator who is also present and can edit the document, as at the same time as Claudia does. And this is really the power of this particular tool. It understands Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and allows you to be able to access those documents, including having a chat window to share information and allow the collaboration of the system. But of course, you could use Microsoft Office to edit the document if you wanted to. Once the document is complete, Claudia basically just closes the tab. This does an automatic save of the document and creates, once everybody is out of the editing sessions, creates a new version of the document. So you will see here that on the folder view, the document has now increased its version number. So let's look at this in a bit closer. You'll see here that the version number is now number 24, and you'll see that the change is reflected in the previewer. But Alfresco keeps the versions of all documents, and so what we're going to look at here is looking at the versions that we have for this document. And this is the listing of all those versions. Now, you may want to revert back to an older version, and Alfresco allows that with a simple click of one button. And reverting a document will then basically create a new version. Once the document has been edited and reviewed, it is time to gain approval for it. Claudia would typically just click on the starter workflow. Out of the box, we have a number of tasks that Alfresco offers, which are simple tasks for ad hoc tasks, for setting reminders or sending tasks, but also reviewing and approve. We'll select the review and approve by a single reviewer, and she'll send a request to Kieren to approve the document. She can set a due date, so we can actually measure whether, find out if the document is now overdue or not. We can set the priority, but in particular what we're going to do is set an assignee. Now, the assignee will receive an email with the task, but the task will also be created within the dashlet, the task dashlet. You see there that they have access to the document itself, and also will receive an email with the task and that document link. So Claudia starts the workflow, and what we're going to do now is flip over to Kieren and log in as Kieren. So Kieren logs in and he sees his task within the My Tasks dashlet. Here he clicks on that and he can there review the document. He can edit the document itself before approving. So he can actually work through the various aspects of the document that need reviewing. And in this particular case, he's going to use OnlyOffice as well, and fix the spelling error, because that's the kind of guy he is. So once he's done that, we've got 2 spelling errors. Fantastic. And as he closes the tab, this creates yet a new version, and he can then go ahead and approve, send a comment, and approve the task, approve the document. Now, to close the loop, the system actually sends a new task back to Claudia. So Claudia, going back to her home dashboard, will then get the notice that the document has been approved. And this is the one where she just completes the loop by clicking task done. So what we've done is we've seen the editing of a document that Claudia created. We've seen collaborative editing of that document. We've seen Claudia send the document for approval and Kieren working through the approval. The document is now ready for sentencing. And the idea here is that Alfresco allows you to capture records that make records, if you want, of the documents without necessarily needing to understand all the intricacies of a record management system. The concept here is to make sure that if every member of staff is a contributor to records, potentially, then they need to recognize what a record is and then allow them to be able to sentence those records. And we do this through this button called Declare as a Record. This is a simple operation. With one click, it now does a couple of things. First of all, it renders the document uneditable. So you can see once the document has been created, has been declared as a record, it then has a reduced number of actions available to it, such as downloading, editing metadata, hiding the record. So clearly we can do a lot less to it. We certainly cannot edit it, we cannot delete it, because it is a record. It is now part of the remit of a records manager, and the record manager will tend to the record. Claudia is our record manager, and what she will do is she will visit the record management site, and within that she'll look at the file plan. Now, new records are actually collected in the unfiled records folder, where Claudia will typically edit the metadata and complete the record before filing it to its final resting place. But this could be actually quite tedious for record managers. So what we have is we have automation available on this particular folder. We can define rules on that folder to recognize certain pieces of metadata, such as the file name or such as other pieces of metadata, so that the filing can happen automatically. And this greatly enhances the capability of the record manager. What we have also on the file plan is a number of schedules that are collected from state records. And in particular, we have AFTA Express. Let's look at the AFTA Express one. This is the Administrative Function Disposal Authority. And you can see here that we have a number of functions, and within each function we have an activity. And these activities are the ones that have the disposal schedule applied to them. We'll take a look at the second one, which is due for destruction 21 years after the record has been filed. You will see here that you have a description of a summary of the disposal schedule, and then the actual disposition steps. Those are the ones which the system applies to the records. So the record becomes inactive, cut off, after 7 days, and then 21 years after that, it is destroyed. Now, the metadata will be kept to show that the record existed, but the document itself will be destroyed 21 years after the event. And this pretty much wraps up our approach with the records management. What we've done is we've seen Claudia editing and reviewing a document. We've seen her setting a document off for approval by Kieren. We've seen Kieren work through the approval of the document. We've seen Claudia sentence a document, and finally the disposal schedule around the destruction of the document. And this completes this part of the practical presentations on collaborations with Alfresco.